behind schedule. Um, let's see. That's off, that's off, that's off, that's on. That's live. Okay, let's go. Hello, Shadowcat back with more Pathfinder and Starfinder. Today, less Pathfinder, more Starfinder. We've been through all the rules in Pathfinder. Well, no, not all the rules. I haven't been through things exhaustively, but I've been through most of what I think is important, and I think I'm in a good place. I think I'm in a place where I could actually run a second edition game. Which, if I could do that, it also means I could probably write a second edition module, which is good because it's kind of the whole point of this, start developing for both. I still have lots of modules planned ahead, and I want to start doing them for both editions, so that if I come up with a group that wants to do 2E, we can do 2E. If I come up with a group that wants to do 1E, we can do 1E. It's all about having access and flexibility. So, that's what we're doing today. We're moving into Starfinder. We're going to take a look. I expect that Starfinder is going to be relatively short, or at least relatively shorter, because I don't need to go into necessarily all of the rules in such exhaustive detail, because ideally, most of the rules should be the same. That was the entire point. They redid Pathfinder and Starfinder to take two systems and unify them under one framework. And I can respect that. Is there anything else to respect about it? I don't know. We're going to find out. So, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that before we get started. Hit the bell icon that we get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into tabletop gaming, you know, Starfinder, Pathfinder, that kind of stuff, kind of in the title, then share this with them. Otherwise, you can leave a like on the video, you can leave comments down below, or you could join our Discord. We have one. We play games there, and we'd like you to play too. So, come join the Discord, come play games with us, go to the Behind the Screens channel, tell me what you want to play, what your availability is. As soon as I have a group together, we will start. And I have one game currently going. It's a Star Trek game, and like I said, it's gone completely off the rails already. I mean, there was a goal, it was there, and then they decided that we're going this way, and now we've forgotten about the goal. It's okay, though. That's what games are for. That's what makes them fun. We also have a Warhammer 40k Gene Stealer game that is ready to go. We're just waiting for one more person, so if you want to play that, join us. And without anything else, let's get into this. Also, I have people in here. Hello, JP. Good to see you this morning. Hello, Blizz. Same to you. And we're going to need a couple of things. Of course, we're going to need to have the browser. We will need to have our spreadsheet. And we can kind of quickly go over what we did last time. So, first off, let me just come back here for a moment, and we'll go look at the spreadsheet and see what we did. So let me move that up so that I can move this up. The big thing that we did last time we were looking at rules was going through and looking at the other rules around everything. Things like hazards, things like equipment, monsters, stuff like that. And everything comes out... everything comes out functional. Although I would say that it comes out functional but flat. The example that I went over last time on the stream is that I had pitted the two characters that I made, the level 12 fighter and wizard, against another level 12 monster, which was a greater cyclops. And the thing that that works is, honestly, the Cyclops had a plus 25 bonus to all of its attacks. And looking at things like the armor classes for the fighter and the wizard, well, their armor classes are about 30. And so we're looking at like a 25% chance hit rate for the monster. And that's fine. I mean, that's good. Or wait, no, not even 75% chance hit rate, excuse me. Plus 25 bonus against a 30 AC is a 75% chance hit bonus. However, our fully armored with a shield, using the shield, fighter, we're talking about a 50-50 hit rate. And that's fine, except it's flat. I mean, at this point, you're literally talking about a coin toss. You don't even need dice at this time. Just flip a quarter. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that so much because, obviously, as a fighter, you want to be as tanky as you can. And there are other things that could possibly tilt things even further in the fighter's favor. One of the things that kind of bothers me, though, is the fact that the wizard that I made also has a 30 AC unarmored. And so it's like, okay, so just 75 or 25% evasion. Oh, the fighter has the same thing. So I still think that everything has been really flattened out. And I'm not thrilled with it, but it is what it is. However, looking at other things like the traps look good. I wish there was more mechanical traps, but I guess they're, I can make up those on my own. As far as like natural hazards go, their weather system leaves a lot to be desired. But that's because they just I'm sure that they don't think about those kind of things. This is really a difference in design philosophy. It's very obvious to me that when Paizo was making all of this, they made all of this with adventures in mind. They didn't make this with like a long campaign in mind where you would have to actually consider everything along the way and all of the long-term, things. They wanted to focus second edition on the idea that we're going to play the game, we're going to put our adventures in a place where they can be adventurous, and that's what we're going to do. The problem that I have with that is that I look at tabletop gaming as something more grand, something more epic. I mean, if you were to like take the Fellowship of the Ring, okay? You take the Fellowship of the Ring, and you were to give it the Pathfinder 2 treatment. Here's what would happen to the Fellowship of the Ring, okay? The entire beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring would be gone. Seriously, there would be no Bilbo, there would be no birthday, there would be no fireworks, there'd be nothing. Tom Bombadil would be removed from the game or from the story entirely. All right? You would get a paragraph little blurb of what happened in the Shire and why you're here, and these are the characters that you're playing. There would be no what was the name of the tavern? Oh, I can't remember. It's been so long. But anyway, the tavern where Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin meet with Aragorn, at that point Strider. Yeah, that'd be gone too, because it'd just be like, here's a character sheet. Who wants to play Strider? The first actual thing that you would get to do would probably be the attack on the hill when the Ringwraith showed up. That'd probably be the first thing you actually get to do. the entire encounter with the elves would just be completely glossed over. That'd be a paragraph or two where they explain that the elves, or your party meets with the civilization of elves, and after much great discussion, it has been determined that you must take the ring to Mordor. After that, God, what happens next? They would probably skip everything until I don't know. I'm trying to cut things out of here, and it's like there's so much. Oh, MG's here. Hello, MG. Good to hear you, or good to see you. Good to hear from you. Everything. Yes. And he says the prancing pony. Yes. That was the tavern. I knew it was something alliterative, and I just could not remember it. But anyway, they would cut out the elves. They would probably cut out all the travel. There might be like a module adventure for the mines. And I say might because I'm not even sure about that. There might be a module adventure for the mines where you get to go through and actually do all that stuff. You know what? I don't even know if there'd be an encounter with the Watcher. Because they ended up camping out in front of the mines for like 2 or 3 days, while Gandalf tried to figure out how to open the door. And then they had the fight with the Watcher. And after that, he figured out the riddle. They got into the mines. They discovered that there were dwarves there. They're all dead now. And then there was the fight with all the what was it in there? It was goblins? I think it was goblins that were in there. Which then, of course, leads into them fighting the troll. And there's all that excitement. And then they flee. They meet the Balrog. Gandalf is gone. And that would all be... Gandalf having or dying would be scripted, of course. Because there's no other way to really do that. And when they come out of the mines, there's a big fight with the orcs, and that would be it. Because that's the end of the Fellowship. Sam and Frodo, they get a boat, they go down the river, Merry and Pippin are captured, and Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, they're on their own now, after Boromir dies. Spoiler alert. So that would be the Fellowship after Paizo got a hold of it. You would reduce the entire book down to 2, maybe 4 encounters. The hilltop fight with the ring wraiths, maybe the Watcher, the goblins inside of the mines of Moria, and the orcs outside. Everything else would be a paragraph little blurb, and that's all you got. I think that sucks. I mean, that's just me. I think that's terrible. And that's what I mean by they flattened everything. The numbers are flattened. So that, like, everyone has an equal chance at everything. And I don't think that everyone should have an equal chance at everything. Let people be good at things. Let people be bad at things. That's life. And additionally, as Blizz said, it's so sad. The story is just as important. It is just as important. And MG says, don't split the party. Cue the Fellowship. Bet. Most people split the party once. They split theirs twice. And they still won. Plot armor's a bitch. And yes, there's a ton of plot armor in Tolkien. Don't get me wrong. Yes, some people died. Boromir died. You know who didn't die? Faramir. And they lit him on fire. So, yeah, that's my read on how they're designing stuff, and I don't like it. I'm not gonna like it, but I'm gonna do the best that I can. And this is one of the things where, like, me as the GM can really come through, because in particular, I know how to design around this stuff. I know how to design long-term stories, even if they're only going to give me a short-term framework. I can do this. So, we went over a lot of numbers, we went over the hazards, the traps, and everything, and all of that looks good numerically. Okay? So, as far as Pathfinder 2 goes, I feel like that I am in a good position to run a game and to start developing for one. And because of that, I'm expecting that when we move into Starfinder, like shortly here, a couple of minutes, I expect that everything is going to be good. Now, before I do that, a little self-aggrandizing, a little self-promotion. Let's go over what I have already for Starfinder 1. Because remember, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild my own character. So, Starfinder 1. This is my character. Naturally, I'm going to be the same level, the same everything else. The only difference is primarily going to be class. Instead of being a wizard, I play mechanic. Which, yes, I know there's technically a technomancer, which might have been more my bag, but come on, I like machines. So anyway, I am playing a level 12 mechanic in Starfinder. The numbers overall don't really matter. We'll go over the things like traits and stuff, because that's really what makes the character the character. And so, naturally speaking, I am going to be a catfolk, or at least the Starfinder equivalent of. And by the by, I was working on something the other day, working on a Starfinder 1E vanilla campaign generator, travel generator, stuff like that. And in doing so, I had to actually go through and create a listing of all of the playable races, just the playable races, in Starfinder 1st Edition. You want to see some insanity? Keep in mind that Pathfinder releases a lot of modules several times a year. They will release a module. It's just a quick adventure, self-contained, usually for the Pathfinder or Starfinder Society. And again, it's a completely contained module. And oftentimes when they do these, they will release material specific to that adventure. However, every single time they do that, they are adding to the world, which is a great thing. You want your world to be vast, expansive, diverse. It's a good thing. However, after years and years and years and years of releasing material for Starfinder, take a look at this. This is my Starfinder travel generator, and this right here is the comprehensive listing of all the races, playable races, in Starfinder 1E. It is huge. It is enormous, and I love it. I really do. MG says, Starfinder 2 has been built with cross-compatibility in mind. From reading the books, it's not a perfect fit. 95% of it works. We'll need to finagle the rest. I believe that. Everything that I have seen so far, and I haven't looked too much into it, but everything that I have seen so far has told me that it's the same framework, the same rules. You're basically just swapping out one setting for another, which is going to be a good thing, I think. Kinda, maybe. We'll get into it, and I already have some thoughts, so we'll we'll figure this out. But anyway, I just wanted to share this because this list is enormous. Every single name on this list has racial adjustments, racial traits, alternative racial features, everything else. You can play as every single one of these, and I think that is amazing. There are 137, I believe, entries on this list. And some of them are hilarious. Like this one. Hologram. You can play as a hologram. I don't know how, but you can. This, I think, is one of the signs of a really good, a really healthy system. Now, are we going to have that? I don't know, but it's in there. So, anyway, racial catfolk, I took the Spacefarer theme for my character. Otherwise, getting into the mechanic, I took the exocortex for my AI. Percussive maintenance, because if it's not working, smack it. Distracting hack, I get automatically at level 2. Overload and weapon specialization are automatic. I took Sky Jockey as a feat. Just, because piloting, you might need it with a starship. That's assuming you have a starship. Foreshadowing. Level 4, I got Quick Patch. Level 5, I got Wireless Hacking, Bypass, Remote Hack, and Technomantic Dabbler. I'm sure that this feat is probably gone, and I'm going to miss it. Because I took this feat several times. You can see my spellbook right here. Mending, Energy Ray, Dancing Lights, Psychokinetic Hand, Grease, and Disguise Self. First off, I'm a mechanic. Mending, it's what I spend most of my day doing. Energy Ray means that I'm never disarmed. Dancing Lights means I never need a lamp. Psychokinetic Hand means I never need a gopher. You need Grease because you're a mechanic, and Disguise Self means you have an infinite wardrobe. It's good. It's really good. MG says, yeah, we're about a year or two into Starfinder 2E now. We have at least 60-ish playable ancestries at the moment. They've added more through the Galaxy Guide, Player Core, and Galactic Ancestries. And a few other places like the Metal City module. Yeah, and that's good. That's good. I really want to see a lot of variety in there. So that they have 60-ish playable ancestries already? Great news. That's like the best thing that I've heard so far. Maybe the only nice thing I have to say today. Anyway. I took portable power as a trick because portable power, why not? You don't need a battery. I got heavy weapon proficiency because I do have a heavy weapon. And I got my expert rig, that's automatic, miracle records per day. I took extra resolve as a feat because I didn't have any other options I liked. I took holographic projector because you can't hit what you can't figure out. I got Technomantic Dabbler again because I wanted more of those spells. I got Protective Fur because I'm allowed to. And that was about it. As far as like equipment and stuff goes, I had Hard Light Squad Armor, which is a light armor. I also had a Cargo Hauler for power armor because my character has a freighter. Sometimes you gotta move boxes. And sometimes you can't lift those boxes. I had an ultra-thin dagger. I had a laser pistol. I had a scatter gun because nothing says hello like a shotgun down a hallway. And a rail cannon, primarily to be used with the power armor. But I did take the heavy weapons proficiency, so yeah, I could do that. And then, of course, augments, because cybernetics are awesome. Charge palm, fortified feet, bionic knees, spinal struts, biosynthetic nanites, a voice encoder, which lets me use suggestion on people, and an adrenal booster, which, you know, again, why not? JP says, sometimes you gotta move corpses. I don't think you need a power loader for that. But you might still use a power loader for that because corpses are icky. And PC's in. Hello, PC. Good to have you here. So yes, this is my Starfinder 1E character, and this is what I want to try and rebuild in 2E. Can I do it? The answer to that is no! No, I cannot do that. You wanna know why? Well, for starters, I did just copy over the sheet that I use for Pathfinder because, again, we're trying to dovetail both of these into the same framework. So, if it worked for Pathfinder, it should work for Starfinder. The really important part here, though, is this. I'm going to come here to the Archive of Nethys because they're pretty up to date on everything. We're going to look at things like character creation. Okay, let's look at ancestries. Now, as far as ancestries go, I don't know that I'm going to find what I want here. But. Here's the thing. As MG just said, there's about 60 ancestries in here, but everything is built on the same framework, which means if, and this is a pretty big if, but if I wanted to bring my catfolk back, I believe there is a catfolk in here somewhere, but I do not believe it has the same name, and I don't remember what the name is. But I should be able to just go back to Pathfinder and take the information from there because, I mean, they're all the same. Like, if I look at a Vesk here, it's going to give us the same... Oh, you guys can't see this because this is in the way. Hold on, let me move this. Anyway, looking at the Vesk, it's going to give us the same little blurb here about, you know, who they are. It's going to tell you how to play your Vesk because they can't help but tell you what to do. It's going to give you a physical description, society, beliefs, everything else, sample names, but then it's going to give us our hit points, our size, our speed, our attribute boosts, our attribute flaws, our languages, and anything that is special to us, which is exactly the same that Pathfinder did. So, if I can't remember what the catfolk for Starfinder is, I can just borrow that from Pathfinder. And I don't see anything in here about anyone that's feline. I'll do a quick little search, though. Oh, wait, here we go. The Patra. Here we go. This has got to be them. Humanoid feline species from nearby star system, highly competitive, known for their achievements in magic, music, and war. Their home was recently freed from the Veskarium's occupation, and they've joined the Pact Worlds. What, you mean you don't like being a part of the Veskarium? But they're such benevolent overlords. And MG says, Patra, yeah. Okay, no, we got it. We got it. And again, it's going to tell you everything about them, but what we're interested in down here is going to be the mechanics. They get 8 hit points, they're medium size, speed 25 feet, charisma, dexterity, and a free. Their attribute flaws, constitution. Now, see, that is actually different. That is different from the catfolk in Pathfinder. The Pathfinder catfolk got dexterity and charisma, but their attribute flaw was wisdom. The idea being that they are agile, they are attractive, but they are impulsive. Still, I mean, this is what we'll use. So, we're going to come down to Ancestry, and we're going to go with Patra. Hit points, I'll just put this over here as an 8 because we'll need that later. Size is medium. Background, we will get to that in a moment. Class, we'll get to that in a moment. As far as attributes go, charisma and dexterity plus a free. So dexterity is going to be a 1. Charisma gets a 1. Constitution gets a -1. And then we have one freebie. We'll go ahead and put it into intelligence, because if we're going to make a mechanic, or at least ostensibly if we're going to try and make a mechanic, then we'll need the intelligence. And as far as languages go, Common, Patra, and Vesk. So Common, Patra, and Vesk. By the way, I was just thinking about Star Wars the other day. Do you realize that, like, Star Trek has the universal translator? So they don't even need to worry about languages most of the time. You ever notice that in Star Wars they don't? And yet everybody seems to know what everybody is saying. So you realize that, like, if most of these people seem to know, like, 7 or 8 different languages, most of which don't even share the same phonetic foundation. You realize that these people are all geniuses, right? I mean, it is hard enough if you were to, if you were on this planet to go and learn several different languages. You could learn English, which is a Germanic base. You could learn Italian, which is a Latin base. You could learn Cantonese, which is a glyphic base. You could learn Russian, which is a Cyrillic base. And then you could also go to Africa, particularly, I want to say Ethiopia, where they have the language which involves things like clicks. And there is no translating that language. You either know it or you don't. I mean, it's literally untranslatable. And the people in Star Wars just know this stuff. Or if they don't know this stuff, they do a really good job of faking it. I mean, think about this. Han Solo can understand Chewbacca. We can excuse that because Han Solo has been with Chewbacca for a really long time. However, within like days or weeks of picking up Luke Skywalker, Luke understands Chewbacca. How? The only answer is that he must be an absolute genius with languages. And MG says there would be droids like C-3PO who function as translators. And yeah, that is primarily what 3PO does. He's a protocol droid. His entire job is to facilitate protocol, which is why he speaks literally tens of thousands of languages. But at what point does he need to actually do that? The only time I remember 3PO actually translating anything is only 2 times. 2. One was with Jabba the Hutt, and that's just because he was translating for an entire audience. I mean, Jabba would speak, and then 3PO would announce. But I'm pretty sure that all the main characters knew exactly what Jabba the Hutt was saying anyway. And then he did that with the Ewoks, which makes sense because who would have actually, learned the Ewok language? But also at the same time, how exactly does 3PO know the Ewok language when no one even knew they were there? It's bizarre the way languages in Star Wars work. But anyway, I get to start with Common, Patra, and Vesk, and then I get to add languages based on my intelligence. And we're gonna be intelligent. Also get Dark Vision. So, I don't actually have a thing for senses, but that's okay. That's okay. After we get that, we get a background. And I still do, I still do like how they've handled backgrounds, because my last, no, not my last, 2 weeks ago, the game that I ran for my Star Trek table, we spent a lot of downtime, and my players actually got to use their profession skill to earn a living. And it's one of those small things where every time I make a character with my players, I make them choose a profession and a craft. And the reason being is I tell my players that your profession is what you do for a living, and your craft is what you do in your free time. Okay? Everyone needs to have a job and a hobby. And most of the time, it never comes up. Most of the time, it never comes up. But every once in a while, something will happen that will force that into the foreground, and that was that moment when they had a month's worth of downtime and didn't know how to otherwise fill it. All three of them decided to fall back to their profession, and they made money, which was great. It was great. Also, JP says Spaceballs was better than Star Wars. Hashtag fight me. I will fight you on that one. Okay? Star Wars was better. That does not mean that Spaceballs was bad. And I will say that the worst of Spaceballs was better than anything Disney ever put out. But okay, I love that they've taken the backgrounds and just integrated them into every character instead of me having to do that. So, you know, kudos to them. Okay, now as far as backgrounds go, what do we got? Because these are already specific in Absalom Local. For what it's worth, if anyone is unfamiliar with the Starfinder lore, Starfinder and Pathfinder actually take place in the same universe. They are separated by something called the Gap. And the Gap is just a period of time where all knowledge was lost and all records were lost. And because of this completely mysterious gap between Pathfinder and Starfinder, things are allowed to cross over. So, in Pathfinder, the central setting is Galarian. But you can have it be whatever world you want it to be. But their central setting is Galarian. And in Starfinder, it is the Absalom Station, that everything is centered around. So when they say Absalom Local, we're basically just talking about your typical citizen. And that's fine. An acolyte, acquisitive, advocate, Akashic recorder, Akatonian explorer, alien hunter. Well, there's lots of aliens. Don't be an alien hunter, though, because you're an alien, too. Ancient Elebrian, Anomaly Hunter, Antediluvian Seeker. I don't even want to see that word. It makes me think of Phoenix Point. Arena Veteran, Artist, Athlete, Bartender, Bouncer, Bounty Hunter, Brutaris Player. Busker, Chatty, Chevalier, City Slicker, Clansworn Cleaner. There's a lot in here. Good job, guys. Again, options are good. Cyberborn is still in here. That used to be a... Oh, they folded all the themes into here. That's interesting. In Starfinder 1, I would have everyone pick a profession, but you would also get a free theme. And that theme would give you additional bonuses, additional everything else. Cyberborn was a theme. I remember it because I used it once. So they folded all these in here, plus added to it. That's good design. Defector, Diplomat, I remember that one from the themes as well. Doctor, Electrician, Emissary, Escort. Load 105 more. Well, we gotta find something that fits us. Okay, we're looking for something that fits a, that fits a mechanic. There's a fixer here, but what kind of fixer? It's not who you are, it's who you know, and you know a lot of people. Yeah, it's not a handyman. That's not the kind of fixer they're talking about. Gambler, ghosted, green activist, scripter, hacker. Hackers are fun. Hero in the making. That's all of you. You're all heroes in the making. Icon, junker, laborer, magic officer, magitech specialist. You can be a miner, party crasher, pickpocket, prisoner. You could be a sacrifice. Obviously a failed sacrifice. If there was a successful sacrifice, you wouldn't be here. Shipwrecked, showboater, socialite, space trooper. I mean, if I could put you on a starship, you could be Starship Troopers. Pity I can't do that. Foreshadowing. Stowaway, street vendor. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's tech support. There's tech priest. Oh my goodness. I could be a tech priest. I actually made one of those characters. I mean, I write all of these modules. I did do a Warhammer 40k module. I made myself a tech priest character. Why not? However, tech support, that's kind of funny. Technophile, Tombborn, Trooper, Urban Explorer, War-hardened Hero, Willing Host, Xenoseeker. Okay. We're going to want to find ourselves something that fits us. And, like, we already know that if we were going to make a mechanic, which is going to be hard, we would want intelligence. So let's go search for something that's got intelligence. And JP says, I can't wait to see how cool the new ship system is. Foreshadowing. Okay. Attributes, we want to sort by intelligence. So, things under intelligence, because that's where we want our focus to be. Code carrier, that's just Johnny Mnemonic. Cook, corporate agent, data file detective, diplomat, doctor, electrician. I have a crippling phobia of electricity. I'm not making an electrician. Fixer, no. Grave medic, hacker. I like the more mechanic part of it. But then again, I haven't really looked at what the mechanic is, which again, we'll get into. So I don't know. Hacker might not be terrible. Magitech specialist. It will give us either Arcana or Occultism, as well as Magitech lore. Manifold recruiter, no. The weird thing is, I don't see my old one in here, because my old trait was the Spacefarer, which also gave me intelligence. I haven't seen that here. So, obviously not everything made the cut. Actually, there's something interesting here. One of the things that was really important for a mechanic in Starfinder 1 was engineering. Engineering doesn't exist anymore. Engineering doesn't exist anymore. And I did do a quick little look through that. Apparently engineering has been replaced by crafting overall, which is not terrible. It's not the worst thing, and I'll explain why. It sounds like it went away, but it didn't. Before Starfinder, before there was an engineering skill, all of that stuff fell under crafting anyway. Back in the days of Dungeons & Dragons 3.0, anything that had to deal with any kind of machinery would either fall into one of two categories. It would either be crafting or knowledge dungeoneering. And it wasn't until, because when Paizo took over or made their own, they made Pathfinder, crafting was still doing the same thing, and you still had knowledge dungeoneering. It wasn't until they made Starfinder that they said, let's make engineering its own thing because technology. So I don't have a problem with that. One thing that I do notice, though, is that crafting is showing in surprisingly few of these. I mean, if I were to just scroll like all the way up and go to skills and just say crafting, that brings us down to this list. Cloud chemist, electrician, gene splicer, scientist, substation custodian, and technophile. You know what? I guess technophile is going to be it. What better trait, or what better background for a mechanic than a technophile? Okay. So, it says, you love technology, you might be an inventor known for your unique creations, a skilled technician everyone relies on for support. I don't know, I feel that one. Or an enthusiast chasing the latest trends. Choose two attributes. One must be intelligence or charisma. Presumably the other one must not be. We will obviously take intelligence. That will give us the +2. And the other one is free. And as a free, I'm going to take Constitution. Why? Because I hate penalties. So, that means that... I thought I turned you off. That means that we've got our bonuses from that. We also get trained in crafting, which is good, and the technology lore skill, which will come in handy later. So, keeping in mind our color coding up here, crafting, then becomes orange, and we get a lore, but it's not going to be academia. Again, I copied this directly over from my wizard. It'll be technology. And hopefully that'll come in handy later. We also gained the quick repair skill feat. So, I guess up here, under the ancestry and general feats and everything, we'll put quick... Oh, wait, hold on a second. One thing that I actually forgot. Quick repair is going to go there. I forgot. One of the things that I did miss in Pathfinder 2 when I was going through all that is I forgot that every class gets an ancestry feat at level 1. I didn't take that when I was doing the others, but I did learn that. So let's go back there for a moment. Ancestries. I want the Patra. Hopefully that hasn't changed, but if it has changed, then we could just skip it. Nor Orc, where are they at? There they are, Patra. Patra feats, yep, they got them. Okay. We get a level 1 feat, and they got a few of them. Let's see. Absolute unit. Let's see. Nope, I want this one. Your size gives the impression there's no room to escape. We'd have to be trained, or... requires us to be trained in intimidation, so we're not getting that. Ancestral dark vision. It says you get low light vision, but the Patra says we get dark vision. I feel like somebody may have made a mistake there. I feel like the Patra is supposed to get low light vision in general. Ancestral skills, you become in skills listed in your ancestry skills entry. I think that one might be universal. Well, these are all listed under Patra, even though they do sound kind of general. Let's see. Ancestral weapon familiarity. You gain access to all common weapons with your ancestry trait. Now, interesting. Let's see. It says here our options are the battle ribbon, the singing coil, and the star knife. And if I look at these, the battle ribbon, analog, disarm, finesse, non-lethal, reach, trip. None of those say Patra, though. The singing coil? Also no. Star knife? Also no. Interesting. Oh, and Blizz has to go. Well, Blizz, I'm sorry that we have to lose you, but I was glad to have you here, so you take care, and we'll see you next time. I don't know why I waved. You can't see that I waved, but I did. Okay, I did wave. It says creature with this trait has the Patra ancestry. They're cat-like people. Blah 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 blah. Like I said, none of these actually say that they're Patra weapons, but I guess we'll just take them at their word. Competitive spirit, creature speech, harmonic sensitivity, home turf, land feet first, night eyes, whether hunting at night or having a deep connection with the void of space, you're at home in darkness. Patra caterwaul. Your strange singing voice can cause a moment's reconsideration or hesitation. Interesting. And that's the last for the level 1s. So, what do some of these do? Night eyes. You become trained in stealth. You gain terrain stalker skill feat, except instead of selecting from a difficult terrain, you can use the feat in areas of dim, light, and darkness. Good for a stealth build. I'm a mechanic. Long-whiskered. At the end of each round in which you're untethered, attempt a DC 15 flat check. On a success, you ignore the clumsy and off-guard conditions. Land feet first, you become trained in acrobatics. If you're already trained, you become trained in another skill, you gain the catfall skill feat. Ancestral skills. My options are either acrobatics or performance. You also gain the additional lore general feat for the lore associated with your ancestry. For example, androids have the android lore, Yosokis get Yosoki lore, etc., etc. That's not bad. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I'm gonna skip it for now. We'll come back and see if there's something later on that really kind of calls to us. It's an advantage to make a high-level character. You can do stuff like that. Okay, so we'll skip that one. We've got our ancestry. We've got our background. The next thing is going to be classes, and oh boy, we're gonna have a moment here. Classes. Here's the classes. We have the available classes of Envoy, Mystic, Operative, Solarian, Soldier, and Witchwarper. Anybody who is familiar with Starfinder 1E might notice that there's a couple of things missing from there. And this is going to be my first and my most major complaint when it comes to Starfinder. It feels unfinished. And when I say it feels unfinished, I mean that we are all familiar at this point in time with the idea of an early release, especially if you play games online. The idea of playing the open beta of something or getting in at the alpha tier and playing something that you know is not finished, but you want to play it anyway, this is not exactly new. And this is what Starfinder 2nd Edition feels like. There is no mechanic. And for that matter, there's no Technomancer here either. Which means that even if I wanted to play one, or even if I couldn't play mechanic, my second choice doesn't exist either. There's also no biohacker, there's also no, what were some of the other ones? Actually, I can just go back and look. If we just go back to regular Starfinder, we look at classes. Biohacker, Envoy, Evolutionist is missing. Mechanic, Mystic, the Nanosite's gone. Operative, the Precog is gone. Solarian Soldier, Technomancer, Vanguard, those are both gone. And then there's the Witch Warper. They're just not in there. Now, that is not to say that they do not exist. Okay? The interesting thing about that is, they kinda do. So, I like to use the Archive of Nethys. However, over here at the Starfinder Nexus, they have access to some of the playtests. Now, why they have the playtest but Archive of Nethys doesn't, I don't know. But if we look at what they've got, these are the classes that they have available. The Envoy, the Luminary, which I guess is like a bard, but it says you can manipulate and sculpt Hardlight to take any shape you can imagine. All the while you infuse magic into the stagecraft of your chosen platform to direct the stage of battle. I will admit, I like the idea of Hardlight, although I don't really want to play a bard. I could. I'd be a very good bard, but I don't want to play a bard. But there's the Mechanic, there's the Mystic, Operative, Solarian, Soldier, Technomancer, and the Witch Warper. But here's the thing. What do the Luminary, the Mechanic, and the Technomancer all have in common that the rest of these don't? They're all playtest. Which means that these are still in development. And they have not been released into the core gameplay yet, at least as far as I can tell. This does not mean that we can't use it, it just means that subject to change. And that, again, is like my biggest problem here. And this would be a really good time to get into the foreshadowing that I was talking about earlier. In Starfinder 1, a huge part of the game was your starship. Almost every single group that plays Starfinder is going to have a starship of some kind. Or at least that was my impression with everyone that I played with. It was just such a foundational part of the game that playing without it felt impossible. Like, how do you play Starfinder without a starship? Well, Starfinder 2 doesn't have starships. The only explanations that I have been able to find is that apparently a lot of people didn't like them. Apparently a lot of people thought that the starships were too hard to use, too difficult to understand, and they found that starship combat was too boring, too long, and they didn't want to do it. To which I say, what's wrong with you? Are you really intimidated by a few numbers? Do you want to know what's worse than the starship mechanics in Starfinder 1? Literally every other vehicle. The system for terrestrial vehicles is awful. It really is. And the system for mechs isn't much better. Both of those make starships look like a dream in comparison. And if you're not willing to put in a little bit of work to understand the systems of the game, why are you here? Why are you playing this game if numbers are too hard for you? Now, I say that because starships are one of my favorite parts of the game. And I do believe they are a core part of the game. The starship represents freedom. A ship in general. Like, I'm reminded of a line in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, when Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth Swann are stranded on an island, and they're talking. It is just a quiet moment in the movie, you know, one of those moments that Paizo would have just skipped over and turned into a paragraph little blurb. But Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth Swann are talking, and she asks him, you know, or she says that this must be so terrible for him, being stranded on an island like this. And he explains to her, you know, that a boat isn't just a boat. It's more than just a hull and sails and rigging. A boat is freedom. The freedom to go wherever you want, to do whatever you want, to be completely unshackled from society, and to answer to no one but yourself. That is what a ship meant to him. And I believe that's what a ship means to a lot of players. It is the freedom to go wherever you want, to do whatever you want. Anyone who has ever played a tabletop game is familiar with the term railroading. And railroading is a bad word, okay? Just like we have a list of 4-letter words that you're not supposed to say, in tabletop gaming, rail is a 4-letter word. And it's a bad one. Because there might be a story to tell, and you can put it there, but you should never have to force your players to do it. And it's one of the things that I do in my games that I feel is really important. I do not railroad my players at all. Right now, in my Star Trek game, my players have orders, or rather had orders, to investigate a secret Romulan black site. Now, those are their orders. What they do with those orders, I leave completely up to them. In this case, as soon as they got those orders, they immediately said, we need to go and investigate. So, even though they were already on another job, they'd taken a cargo contract, they were going to make some money, they said, nope, we have orders, we're going that way. And along the way, they encountered a planetary system. They said, you know what, we'll just dip in here for a quick look. So they came out of warp, they entered the system, and they did a few scans. They scanned the star, they scanned the planets, and one of those planets had evidence of a civilization on it. And you know what they did? They went down there and they explored that civilization. And they found stuff down there. They found the evidence of a civilization that was very advanced. They brought back home artifacts and souvenirs. They also brought back radiation sickness, which then directed them to go to Deep Space Nine, a central space station in the Star Trek canon because they needed help that was beyond their ability. And while they were there, one of their characters died. And they picked up a new one. But because that character died, that meant that they were in a rather dire place, because now they didn't know how to control the 3 ships they had with only 2 pilots. Which led us then into another little jaunt that took them to a shipyard, where they spent a month getting their ships refitted, and also where they got to use that downtime that I talked about earlier. See how all of this is important? There is still a plot here, but I'm not forcing them onto it. If your plot was really that good, they would choose to do it. And if they chose to do something else, it means one of 2 things. Either something else along the way was more interesting than what you wanted to do, or something else that came along, or your plot was less interesting than the other stuff they had to do. Those are not necessarily the same thing, okay? I know that they have the same outcome, but they're not necessarily the same thing. And MG says, you give destinations, players have a choice how to and when to engage it. Exactly. And why? Because players have choice, and they should have choice. But when you take the starship away from the players, now they don't have choice. I mean, I suppose if you take the starship away from them, well, now they have to still find passage to get to the Romulan black site. They're going to have to find a ship that's going that way because they can't have their own ship, and that ship is going to be on rails. It's not going to be a starship, it's going to be a space train. Okay? It's only going here. And that's where we get into something that I'm going to talk about real quick. Under the game mastery here, starship scenes. Okay? Starship scenes. They took out starships, and they introduced this. PC says, just install the AI Rutherford made in lower decks. I'm sure it will work great. I mean, I haven't had the chance to give them an AI yet, but I haven't forgotten it. JP says, yes, but Kazruz keeps putting stuff in our way. Kazruz does not put the stuff in your way. He just lets you know that it's there before you run into it. Be thankful for Kazruz. But anyway, they took out starships and they gave us these starship scenes. And there's 9 of them. 3 of these come from the GM core. The rest of these come from Guilt, or no, not the rest of them. Guilt of a Grave World, Guilt. So 4 of these come from Guilt of the Grave World. 2 of these come from Sahedrian Showdown. Both of which are, you know, additional modules that came out. But let's take a look at this. The Android Ambush, this is a level 2 scene. And when I say scene, I mean scene. It is scripted like a scene. The PCs are on an Ulrika Clan Holdings Rockhopper starship scanning a light asteroid field for precious resources when a stealthy Corpse Fleet raider attacks. This is a really great scene if that is specifically what happens. What about the infinite number of times when literally anything but this happens? Again, where is the freedom? Where do my players get to make a choice? And that's not just this one, that's all of them. If I go to Scanning a Dying Sun, the PCs fly an Explorer-class starship to monitor the final moments of a star before it collapses and unleashes an immense supernova. A swarm of fire elementals complicates the matters. Again, that's great if that's what my players wanted to do. But what if they didn't? And this gets back to everything that I've been talking about with 2nd edition. Again, do you know what this is? This right here is the fight in the Mines of Moria with the giant troll. I think it was a troll. Maybe it was an ogre. I'm not sure. And all the goblins. Okay? This is great for that specific scene. But what about getting to the sun? Okay? What happens after the sun? I don't know. Paizo doesn't care. I mean, I suppose for some of these, like if we go back to this whole like Guilt of the Grave World thing, it's an adventure path, and it's going to give us the story. It's going to give us actions, ancestries, category page. It gives us some creatures. It gives us some feats, hazards, etc., etc. I don't think I can actually see the storyline in this, but can I come here? No, I can't. This doesn't show it. But it does show all the different adventures. But I mean, this is great if you wanted to play through this specific story. This is garbage for anything else. Absolute garbage. Now, does this mean that I can't use this? No, I can use this. I don't like it, but I can use it. Could I create a system where I can use this to generate anything I want? Yes, I can. Because I can look at this and I can see the format. We have our starship description right here. Okay? So all I need to do is include a starship description of what they're on. I need to have available chairs, because they dictate that too. You're only allowed to do these things. Any bonuses the starship gives, I get to give the starship an armor class and saves, and it gets some shields and hit points. Okay, I can do that. I can generate that. It then gives a list of options. There's a gunner option. It's a martial weapon, which means if you don't have martial proficiency, I guess you're not a gunner. I mean, it's either going to be like a console with a fire button on it, or it'll be like some kind of turret with a trigger on it. But if you don't have martial weapon proficiency, you're too dumb to pull a trigger. There's a pilot or a single science officer action here. There's a single engineer, and then there's another pilot action down here. I could go ahead and just roll a random thing. I could create a generator that tells you what the actions required in this particular fight are. And then there's the same thing down here for the other ship, and then there's a routine for the asteroid field. But again, it's all scripted. It's all scripted. And MG says, I see these as templates. This is an option for those who want minimal ways to engage scenarios with the ship. Though I'm happy to hear that the new ship combat mechanics will arrive in the tech core book. Okay, you are clearly more up on what's going on in Starfinder than I am, and I appreciate that, because that's kind of where I've been going with this, is that this is not a replacement. This is garbage. Now, you called it a template. I will take that. Like I said, I can use it as a template. I could write up a spreadsheet that can generate an infinite number, well, maybe not an infinite number, but millions of different kinds of encounters. But this is still a scripted encounter. Let me explain a little bit of something here. Let me pull this in, and I'm gonna be giving something away here, but it's okay because it's worth it here. It's worth it here. If I were going to use this, what I would do is I would come over here to this this travel log, and what I would do is This is primarily meant for role-playing purposes, but I would adjust these values for like an actual table. What we do is we go to a website, and that website is going to be random.org/sequences. Okay, this is how I do it. This is how I make my games. I'm going to come over here to this box right here. I'm going to randomly sequence 1 through 100. Now, anything that is a 1 through 90, nothing happens. Why? Because space is big and space is empty. And then we get into the rest of it. On 91, 92, we get an encounter, which means we then come down to this table. On 93, 94, we get a hazard, so we come down to the hazards. We've got real space hazards and drift hazards. On 95 and 96, we get a landmark. And a landmark is going to just be a civilization in space. And then there's phenomena and signals, which I haven't finished yet. But the point is that for travel, I'm simply going to sequence these numbers, and that's going to tell us what lies ahead of us. Now, this does not necessarily change depending on whether we use a starship or we take passage on another ship. The road is the road is the road, okay? So, if I were to simply replace pretty much all of this, well, maybe not all of this, but if I replaced encounter with scene, okay? If I replace encounter with scene, that just means that when I roll all of this and when I get a 91 or a 92, we're then going to come back to the scene generator that we would have to make, you know, like you said, templates, and generate a scene for them to get through. The only problem is that without a starship, again, it's all kind of on rails because there's not really anything for them to do. They didn't have a choice really in getting into it, and they don't have a choice in getting out of it or avoiding it, because let me relate to you something that happened very early on in the Star Trek game. They were traveling and they got a contact on their sensors, okay? The first thing they did, of course, is they scanned it. They scanned it, and they said that it's a ship. So then, they decided to do a little bit more investigation. What kind of ship? And when they scanned it, they did the analysis to find out what kind of ship, they found out it was Borg. Now, if you're familiar with Star Trek, you know that the Borg are bad news. And so they said, well, we're not going to pick a fight with a Borg ship, that'll kill us. So what did they do? They looked at how fast it's moving. It was moving faster than they could go. So they can't outrun it. And they don't want to fight it. If you can't run, you can't fight, that leaves hide. So what they did is they said, okay, it's traveling. What direction is it traveling? They plotted that course. They said, okay, move us vertically, okay? Z-axis. Move us vertically off of their path of travel. And so they went down. And once they went down, they said, okay, now, we have a whole lot of systems on here that use power, okay? The weapons use power, the engines use power, everything uses power, which means that everything can be scanned. Turn it all off, okay? Make the ship cold. And so they turned off everything on the ship, and then they turned off the power core itself. And I had one of them, their engineer, make an engineering check for stealth. And then I made a perception check for the Borg vessel. And the Borg vessel didn't see them. Tell me, in all of the options here for the scenes, where is that option? Now, I can tell you probably what the answer would be. Probably, okay? Because right here it says victory conditions. The PCs defeat the Corpse Fleet Raider by reducing it to 0 hit points, or they escape the asteroid field by earning 5 or more escape points during the encounter. Or it says down here under ending the encounter, the PC's starship is destroyed or the PCs achieve 1 or more victory conditions. Now, the problem here is that Paizo, or if it wasn't Paizo, then it would be me, dictated these. I did not tell my players to hide. They came up with that on their own. They came up with not just where to hide, but how to hide. So, for this one, this Ulrika Clan Holdings Rockhopper thing, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Victory conditions. Reduce the raider to 0 hit points or escape the asteroid field by earning 5 or more escape points. What if you wanted to use your intimidation to hail the ship and scare them off? Is that an option? How about diplomacy? Maybe you could pay them off. What if you wanted to use a culture check to find some kind of additional ability that you could use against them? Okay? Maybe you could use a culture check to give yourself additional armor because you know how they fight. Where is the freedom to act? Now, you can make the argument that that freedom still exists. There is nothing technically stopping your players from doing those things. The problem that I then point out to you is, why would they? You are right that a clever player would do that. A clever player would say, what other options do I have? But as I've pointed out, the rules as written seem to have been made to make this appeal to the broadest possible audience. We're not talking about the clever players, we're talking about the players in general, as in grabbing 4 people off the street, sitting them down at a table, handing them a character sheet and saying, please play test this for us. And you know what those players are going to see? They're going to see this. That's all they're going to see. They're going to see, this is our options. We either reduce this thing to 0 hit points, or we escape by getting 5 or more escape points. Okay? Stop dictating to your players what they have to do and let them figure it out themselves. Okay? And I know that might sound mean, okay? It might. It might come off as a little bit cold, a little bit callous. I don't care. Let your players figure it out. Not only will they come up with solutions that you never thought of, but they will feel all the better for it. MG says, I think that aspect can be added on the fly as a GM, though that's of course more work for you. This is why I see them more as templates. I can see them as templates. I can also see them as doctrine. And as far as, that is more work for you as the GM. Is it though? Like, as the GM, your entire job, like the only thing that you are there to do, is to accommodate that. Like, you are there to tell the story. Okay, that's what you do before the game. And during the game, your entire purpose is nothing but adjudication. Really, that's all it is. Your players decide what they want to do, and then you tell them what happens after. JP says other DMs would not appreciate our left turns in the story. No, they would not. I can guarantee you, no, they would not. And that's because most GMs, by my experience, have a story they want to tell, they've already put a lot of work into it, and they want you to go through the story that they have so finely crafted. Unfortunately, and I'm going to go back to the Fellowship of the Ring example that I keep using, a normal GM would not appreciate Sam and Frodo taking a boat down the river and Merry and Pippin failing their roles and getting captured by orcs. Okay? A normal GM would not do that. A normal GM would get absolutely pissed off that whoever is playing Frodo and Sam decided to just screw off in the middle of a fight and take a boat down the river. Because they didn't plan for that. That wasn't on the list. Now, as far as the whole capturing Merry and Pippin, maybe that was the plan for everybody, and they didn't count on Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli not getting captured. Maybe that was the idea, was for everyone to get captured. And then 3 players just happened to not be able to get captured because they kept succeeding their roles. They kept killing every orc that came near them until the GM just ran out of NPCs. And they only managed to capture 2. So great, now you had this whole story where you're basically going to capture them and take them all the way through, well, actually probably to Isengard, honestly. And that would get them all there. Instead, now you, as the GM, have 3 separate stories to tell. Sam and Frodo, Merry and Pippin, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas. Yeah, a GM is not going to appreciate that, but you know what? If you can't handle that, that's your problem as a GM. Okay? Your players deserve to have choice. And if that choice inconveniences you, that's a you problem. Not them. You. That's you. And making the system so that it takes away their choices so that you don't have to deal with that? That's wrong. That's wrong on multiple different levels. PC says they would not appreciate the left turns unless they're NASCAR fans. That's funny, but you do know that NASCAR actually does run on street tracks too, right? They do. MG says, I've been learning from other GMs that that's not good practice to write a narrow narrative expecting the players to follow through with it. If you want to write a story, be a novelist. Yes! Okay, good. I'm glad that there's other GMs out there saying the same thing. For a while there, I thought I was the one that, the only one who was saying this, and I was the one taking crazy pills. But yes, if you want everything to go exactly your way, write a book. This is why, okay, this is why everything that I do is nothing but generators. Because I want you to understand something. Okay, let me come over here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll my sequence of 100 things, okay? And then I am going to go ahead and say that I'm going to change this back to encounter. I have my encounters, my hazards, my landmarks, my phenomena, and my signals. By the way, hazards are harmful, phenomena are beneficial. That's the difference. I'm I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll all this stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and say that, you know what? My players are traveling and they come across an encounter. What is this encounter going to be? It's probably going to be a starship because while there are stuff out there, you know, probably going to be a starship. And they encounter the starship. The starship is neutral. All right, it's neutral. And it's going to be a civilian ship. Okay, why not? Civilian ship. And they decide that they're going to hail the ship and talk to them. Okay, so then I get to come over here to this big table. Okay, and I get to roll what kind of race it is. And so they're talking with them, and as they're talking with them, they ask the civilian ship, you know, if everything is okay. All right, well, now I get to actually make a roll myself. Are they okay or are they not okay? I roll some dice and determined that actually they have suffered a little bit of damage. As it turns out, they've been attacked by raiders lately. Okay, they were attacked by a raider and they managed to get away. However, those raiders are still back there and they'll prey on anybody who comes through their territory. So if you're going that way, be careful. And my players are just like, well, I mean, we're something of heroes ourselves. A raider ship shouldn't be that much of a problem. And now we have an entirely different side quest where we want to go and take care of a raider vessel. So now I get to come back to my generators and say, all right, I need a ship and I need it now. I don't need it custom built. I don't need it curated for my party. Just build me a ship. Roll the dice, fill in the sheet, bam, ship made. Because if you cannot improvise on the fly, then your players don't actually have options. So if you're expecting your players to just go through this way and do exactly what you want, you don't want to play a game. What you're looking for is an audience. And you don't need a tabletop to be your audience. You have YouTube. Okay? Write your book. Read your book. Post it there for everyone to see and become, you know, a great audiobook channel. Not for here, though. And that's why I get back to the whole Starship scene thing. It takes away all of the freedom. It sucks. Now, I did remember what you said. You said that Starship combat mechanics will arrive in the Tech Core book. I will be looking into that later, because I'm hoping that they will be reintroducing starships, or at least some light version of the old Starship system. I hope it's the case. I really do. Because otherwise, I would go ahead and make my own system. You think I can't do it? I can do it. I can totally do it. I can make my own starship builder. I don't want to. I don't get paid for this. Paizo, they get paid for this. They should hire me. But no, I don't get paid for this. I don't want to do it if I don't have to. But I mean, sometimes they don't leave me any other options. So, I mean, this is all a very, very roundabout way to say that all of this feels unfinished, and that includes the mechanic, which is still in playtest. Now, I do wonder, because you said that Starship combat mechanics are becoming the Tech Core book. Well, I don't know what this Tech Core book is yet, but Mechanic, Technomancer, they seem kind of Tech Core book to me. So maybe these will be included in that too. So, since we're looking at the mechanic anyway, this is what we have to work with, and so this is what we're going to work with. Now again, all of this should be pretty much the same as when we worked with Pathfinder. Oh no, JP is protesting! No ships, no play! No ships, no play! I have a riot over here pretty soon. MG, I'm deputizing you, okay? You need to keep order inside the chat. All right, so we'll go ahead. We're going to use the All right. I didn't fill this in. Technophile. There we go. So we're going to use the playtest for our mechanic. And it should be fine. I have given it a brief look over, and it looks good. I don't know what they're going to change. They may change a few small things, but in general, the playtest looks good. I will, however, put in here test. So, playing a mechanic, I know how to play mechanic. Key attribute is intelligence. We get 1 attribute boost to intelligence, which is going to push up to a +3. Hit points are going to be 8 plus our constitution modifier. I was going to put this here, 8 plus con. Just so that I have it written down somewhere. Obviously, that's not the right place for it, but it's what I got. I check and make sure the angry mob is still in check. Okay, the angry mob is still in check. Okay, and then we get into the initial proficiencies, and this looks exactly the same as it did in Pathfinder. So, expert in perception. So we can go ahead and make those yellow. Saving throws, expert in fortitude reflex, trained in will. So there we go, we got those. JP says, Technophile is just fancy speak for user manual. Not getting into it. What I do in my own time with my computer is my business. Okay, trained in computers, trained in crafting. Now, I think that I might have made a mistake before because I don't believe I get to simply add to this one and make it different. And it also says trained in computers, trained in crafting. That does not match the skills that I have on this sheet. So, we need to make an adjustment here. Okay, we need to make an adjustment. I'm going to copy this, paste it down here because I need to redo this. I think, maybe. Hold on. We're going to come back to the Archive of Nethys and character creation skills. So apparently some of these skills have changed. So let's go ahead and just redo this. And I'll fill in the attribute modifiers afterwards. Acrobatics Arcana. Athletics Computers. Crafting Deception. Diplomacy Intimidation. Intimidation Lore. No, I got that. In Lore Medicine. I'll put 2 of those in here. Nature Occultism. Performance Piloting. Religion Society. Apparently we live in one. Stealth, Survival, and Thievery. Alright, so, our list of skills actually got a little bit bigger. Just a little bit. JP says, rule sets are just guidelines. You're the DM. Make adjustments according to the player or session needs. Yes, that is absolutely true, and I do that constantly. And every good GM should. Again, you are the adjudicator. Okay, so I gotta delete these and redo them. Acrobatics is gonna be Dex, Intelligence, Strength. Computers will be Intelligence. Crafting, I believe, is also Intelligence. Skill. You can use this skill, blah, 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 earn income. Actually, hold on. I did pull something up here. I couldn't... So, by the way, this is the Pathfinder character sheet. Now, before, I had a copy just like this for Starfinder, but I can't find it again. This is from the Archive of Nethys, and it shows everything else. It just has all these little numbers and everything on it to tell you what to do with it, which I find very inconvenient, but, you know, it is what it is. However, this is exactly what I need. Crafting is Intelligence. Deception, Diplomacy are all Charisma. Lore is Intelligence. Medicine is Wisdom. Nature is Wisdom. Occultism is Intelligence. Performance is Charisma. Piloting is Dex. Religion is Wisdom. Society is Intelligence. Stealth is Dex. I don't need to look at that one. Survival should be Wisdom. It is. And Thievery is Dex. And then, of course, your Perception gets its bonus from Wisdom as well. So, I'm just going to copy the lore down here. Copy the crafting here. And then we can take this entire thing. And just move it up. And there we go. It's in place. The only thing I gotta fix now is this. And that's easy. Okay, so these are now done. And because I am a mechanic, I get to be trained in computers as well. So there are some small differences between the two still. It's not a huge difference. It's one of those things where all you would need is a quick little conversion cheat sheet that says that if you were to port a character from Pathfinder, they would use this for their computer check. As far as like piloting goes, piloting is used for literally piloting anything, whether that is a starship or a horse. And so I would go ahead and just use the same rules in reverse. Handle animal for a starship. Okay, and then trained in a number of additional skills equal to 2 plus your intelligence modifier. Which our intelligence modifier right now is 3, so we get to pick 5 more. We have bonuses in intelligence, we have bonuses in dexterity and charisma. Let's play to our strength. We're probably going to want to have at least diplomacy. I don't generally go looking for fights, but hey, sometimes they happen. I don't know if I want Arcana because I don't know if I'll actually end up picking up any spells. I do not know if Technomantic Dabbler ever made it into the game, and I probably can't look either because Technomancer is still in playtesting. So Arcana seems to be a bad choice. We'll take Acrobatics because we have the Dex bonus. Other things for Intelligence, we could take Occultism, but no. Piloting. We want Piloting. That's always useful. Society is useful if you want to run a business, which I do. And I get to pick one more. Not a lot of great options here. But I guess take Performance. You never know. Sometimes you want to put on a show. So there we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all I get. Alright. As far as attacks go, trained in simple weapons, trained in martial weapons, trained in unarmed. That's down here. And weapon proficiency, I don't know why this is listed this way. Simple, martial, advanced. You can't have an unarmed ranged attack. But there we go. As far as armor, trained in light, medium, and unarmored. Which is interesting because previously Starfinder didn't have medium armor. It had light, heavy, and powered. Which makes, or it leads me to believe that perhaps there is no power armor, and if that's the case, I'll be a little upset because I liked my power armor. I want to be Ripley. And then, of course, trained in Mechanic Class DC. So I can delete the spell DCs, don't need them. Mechanic DC and trained in it. Okay, and that takes care of all the proficiencies. So then it tells us, during combat, during social, while exploring in your downtime, stop telling me what to do. Stop telling people what to do. Let them decide what they want to do. And if they are struggling to figure out what they want to do, don't tell them what to do. Help them figure it out. Okay? Use your brain to help them use their brain. Use the Socratic method, okay? What are you doing? Nothing. Why? Because I don't know what to do. Why? I don't know, I guess I just didn't think about it enough. Okay. Think about it. What would you like to do? Well, I would like to do this, this, and this. And what can you do? Well, I could do this and this. Right. So, what would you like to do? I guess I'll do this. There you go. Alright? It's not that hard. It takes less than a minute. Actually interact with your players and help them. Don't just point to the book and say, well, if you're a mechanic, you're doing this. Stop telling them what to do. Okay, getting back into this, a lot of this looks very familiar to what we did in Pathfinder. Ancestry and background, we did it. Attribute boosts. In addition to what you get from your class at first level, we got intelligence. You have 4 free boosts to different attribute modifiers. And then you get that again at every 5th level. So I get to add 4. And I don't think that one of them can be intelligence. Although there's nothing that says it can't be. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 1 into dexterity. I will put 1 into intelligence. I will put 1 into charisma, and that leaves me with 1 left over. And here's something interesting. Like, oh no, the motorcycles are coming outside. Not the motorcycles. There's so many of them. Oh, actually, that was only a few. Usually they come in like a pack of 70. It's crazy. That's what you get for living on a main road. Strength. See, what I find really interesting in Starfinder is that strength is like a dump stat in Starfinder. And the reason is actually kind of simple. If you have a starship, you don't need to carry anything. So carrying capacity doesn't really matter that much. It's kind of interesting to see how everybody dumps strength, because it's like, for what do I need that when home travels with us? And guess what? That's another thing you lose when you take the starships out. Your players no longer have a home base. In fact, they don't even have a home. Congratulations, you've made them hobos. That's literally one step away from murder hobos. We don't want murder hobos. Okay? Murder hobos are bad. So, give your players a starship. Just let them have it. Why would you launch the game without that? Anyway. I have 1 point to spend. I can't upgrade or do these again as far as I know. And again, I don't exactly know if there's rules on that or not. Maybe you can't just dump all your points into like one stat. Why not? The only rule I do know is that once you hit 4, it takes 2 points each to get them over 4. And every level after that. I'll put one into Wisdom, actually. Wisdom's good. It's got to be Wisdom or Constitution. Fortitude or Will save. And since my Will save is my worst save, put it into Will. Okay. Initial proficiencies. We already covered this, I believe. They are noted at the start of your class. Yes, got it. Okay. Custom rig. So you begin play with a specialized toolkit called a custom rig. It weighs 1 bulk. It counts as both a commercial repair toolkit and plus one of the following toolkits of your choice: a commercial hacking toolkit, infiltrator's toolkit, or maker's toolkit. You can use your custom rig with 1 hand if you're wearing it, or 2 hands if you're holding it. It used to be you could have it integrated. Whenever you purchase one of the listed toolkits or a higher grade version of the listed toolkits, you can spend 10 minutes integrating that toolkit into your custom rig. If you do, it gains the properties of that toolkit. This does not increase the bulk. Interesting. Okay, so it's a little bit different. The thing that I noticed though is that your custom rig weighs 1 bulk. So I don't know if the rules for bulk have changed in 2E, but the rules are that you can carry. Oh, actually, that's a really good question. How have the rules of bulk changed? I gotta look that up now. It used to be that you could carry 1 bulk equal to your strength score, but 2E, ever since the revision, doesn't use a strength score. How many bulk can you carry? I have to look that up later. However, 1 bulk is about 10 pounds. So it's a 10-pound toolkit now. It used to be you could integrate it into like your arm. You could integrate it as a cybernetic. Now it weighs 10 pounds. For me, however, hacking toolkit, I don't know. Infiltrator toolkit, I don't think I really want. You need an infiltrator's toolkit to pick locks or disable devices using the thievery skill. I didn't take thievery. The maker's toolkit, though, you need a maker's toolkit to create items from UPBs using the craft skill. That's what I want. So, custom rig, makers. And then, and I'm almost out of time here today, but let's see if we can at least get through level 1. We get Modify. Modify, your custom rig allows you to customize items in your possession on the fly, increasing their effectiveness or versatility for a limited time. You can make such adjustments using the Modify action. So this requires you to be holding or wearing your custom rig. Using your trusty custom rig, you quickly customize a piece of gear, interact to draw, retrieve, or swap an item, then add one of the mods listed below. The item remains modded until the start of your next turn, but the effect ends early if you use Modify again, or if the item is destroyed or a character other than you, your drone, or your turret attempts to use the item. So, you can mod it with Big Boom for a grenade or area weapon, Bunker Buster for a grenade or weapon, Incapacitant for a grenade or weapon, Magnetic Levitators for armor, your base speed gains hover, that's interesting, Long-range Propulsors for grenade or ranged weapon, which increases its range, or Troubleshoot. You quickly recalibrate a malfunctioning item, reduce the value of the item's glitching condition by 1. Interesting. So, I rather like Incapacitant, and I don't think that I have to actually choose one of these. I think I simply have access to all of them. And I can modify once per round as an action. Yeah, it's a single action. I can modify it to do whatever I want. So if I have a laser pistol that does fire damage, I can spend an action to modify it with Incapacitant, and suddenly it does non-lethal fire damage. Don't ask me how that works. But you know what? I will take it. So I get Modify. I also get an Exocortex. It's a sophisticated program of self-motivated code synchronized with your brain, which you can use remotely to control a complex device of your own design. This program and its linked device are collectively called an Exocortex. At the first level, you choose your Exocortex. The Exocortexes presented in this book include the following: a drone, a network of mines, or a deployable turret. You can modify your Exocortex in unique ways. So, in 1E, your Exocortex was either an internal or external, and if it was external, it was a drone. Now, they seem to have completely done away with the internal one. For some reason, I wonder why. Usually when they would do that, it's because nobody used it, or it was insanely broken. And, like, everybody used it, so they got rid of it. I'm not sure which. Drone is exactly that. See Robot Companions for more information. It begins with one integrated weapon mount. You control your drone with your thoughts at a range of up to 150 feet. Only you can operate, control, and repair your drone. If it's ever beyond your range, it cannot perform any actions. During your daily preparations, you automatically repair it, restoring it to maximum hit points, even if it's destroyed. You can spend additional time directing your drone for more complex, then you can spend 2 actions to command. Instead of 1, when commanding your drone, it can then use the additional action, normally 3 actions rather than 2. And let's see, the Desperate Repair, Modify, gains temporary hit points, or Killbot, gains a +2 status bonus to damage rolls. And then there's a list of stuff on Robot Companions, which is cool. Mines. I cannot imagine why you'd want your Exocortex to be deployable minefield. Why? Or a turret. So it connects easily, or to a deployable turret that's easily collapsed and stored within your custom rig when not in use. You can only deploy one turret, and your turret retains its current HP when stored in your custom rig. It occupies a 5-foot square, provides lesser cover. You can take cover behind your turret. Once deployed, you can fire the turret remotely if you are within 100 feet of your turret as a ranged strike originating from the turret's location. Your turret has its own targeting sensors, including dark vision, and doesn't rely on your vision. Your turret uses your attack modifier and shares your multiple attack penalty. Then why would you bother? Seriously. Let's see. You can spend one, or you select one of the following arrays for your turret, its damage type, and range increment. You can have a chain gun, disintegrator, laser beam, thunderclap, volt thrower, or zero emitter. I'd go with the chain gun. Because why not? But no, I'll take a drone. Drones are useful. Everything else here seems less useful. But I guess I gotta go over the rules for robot companions because I don't know. But I'm gonna go with the drone. I will go with a drone. And then it says that I get a mechanic feat. And let's see, at the first level, you gain a mechanic class feat. We'll take a quick look at those. How many do we have? Actually, there's not many. There's 3 pages of these though, so that's good. Level 1. I like the font, however, I do not appreciate the font. Kind of hard to read. Anyway, commercial customization. Let's see, JP says, robot companions, they have fembots? I haven't decided to make it a fembot yet. But I could, if I wanted. Actually, I can't say that. I don't know anything about them yet. I'm still learning this. Commercial customization, your drone gains 1 commercial customization. Oh, I can't see that information. That's going to make this difficult. I'll have to see if I can make an account later and get access to it. Maybe. I don't know. Critical explosion. Your mines explode. I'm not taking mines. Explosive shot. You designed a nozzle that can be fit into single target weapons. Splitting the weapon's fire into dangerous new shapes. High voltage. Modify your drone's power cell to create and store excess electricity, which your drone can release as a sudden jolt. High-tech medic. I didn't take medicine. Multidisciplinary mechanic. Oh, and MG says, or a Doombot, just a complete replicate of you, although I'm sure there could be a version that does that already. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I did take a lot of the holographic options on my first edition character because, again, if you don't know who or which one's real, you don't know which one you can shoot. However, Doombot, I'm on board. Let's see. In addition to industrial and technological engineering, you studied specialized form of invention. Shielded turret. I didn't take a turret. So, without knowing what they necessarily do, I can't make a decision. I lean towards a commercial customization because I don't know what it does, but more mods for my drone, I'll take that. I can't answer it, though, until I can actually see what they are. So, I'm over time as it is. We'll go ahead. We'll take a break here. I will sign up here. I will see if I can get access to that other information. Hopefully I don't have to pay for it. But if I do, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll see if I can get the information, and when we get back here next time, we'll pick up here with the mechanic feats, and we'll continue from there. We're still on level 1 of a 12-level character, so there's a lot of work to do. All in all, so far, though, it does resemble Pathfinder 2 a lot. But it's probably going to still take a while because it is just, it's a lot of unique information. I don't necessarily know if there's going to be a whole lot of shared information or shared feats and stuff between them. Which makes sense. I mean, they shouldn't be. We can share the mechanics without necessarily sharing the setting. I'll also look up how we calculate carrying capacity in the new version, because I never thought about that till now. And I'll let you know. So, that being said, I will let everyone go. I'll let everyone go now. This is fun, though. I'm glad to be back into Starfinder. I do like Starfinder more than Pathfinder. Not to say that I don't love fantasy. Technology has a special place in my heart. So, I will see you next time. If you're enjoying this, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon that we get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into tabletop gaming, especially if they are into Pathfinder, Starfinder, then share this video with them. But otherwise, if you just like what I'm doing here, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below. Join the Discord. MG, I'm still waiting to see you in the Discord. Join the Discord. Come to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what games you want to play and what your availability is, and then come play with us. I'm always looking for new players. So, I hope to see you there. I hope to see you back here next week. And until then, take care.